Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Peter Jennings. I go by CSURAM88 across the daily fantasy industry. Back again here at Fantasy Labs doing a lineup review, this time of a 15-man 5K Thunderdome in PGA. I finished dead last, and we'll get into that in just a second. Also want to make a real fun point here, getting the retargeting ads from Hearthstone, which is a game I love to play. Certainly another fun strategy game that I've gotten into as I try to learn more about esports. So any Hearthstone fans out there, hit me up. Would be happy to play whenever. But let's get into the lineup, and let's get into reviewing this lineup that lit a lot of money on fire. Finished dead last in the Thunderdome, had 3 missed cuts, and just an overall frustrating week in PGA. Had one cash game team with Glover and Rory. I did use Rory in a good bit of my volume, and when I used Rory, I used Glover, so that worked out really well. But still, definitely a losing week, and missed on some players. And looking at my process, and maybe a couple guys in particular, I'm going to try to figure out what I'm doing wrong, and not even be results-oriented about this week, just try to evaluate where I could potentially get better, and look at some of the other lineups in this particular tournament. So let's start with my team. I had Bryson DeChambeau. This is probably the play that I'm least happy with myself on. Very bullish on Bryson. I think he is a very talented golfer. His ball striking is excellent, but around the greens and putting, he had a chance to make the cut on Friday and missed 2 or 3 birdies that were very makeable. Should have made at least one to put him at the cut line, and then kind of fell apart on the green mile when he needed to stay even par to make the cut. So I'm still trying to figure out how to handle someone like Bryson. Colin has been bearish on him in general, just because there's not enough of a track record. And that's probably should be the case. I think I'll continue to use Bryson a lot in the tournaments. I think that this is the adjustment I'm going to make, is I will continue to be very bullish on him in the more top-heavy tournaments, and will continue to fire him every week just because I'm very long on Bryson. I think I'm very bullish on him in general, so that's a great way to always have exposure to him. But in terms of cash games and maybe the Thunderdome and other higher stakes tournaments, I probably will be more hesitant to take him in the future, which hurts my heart, but it's just the reality. I had a huge week during Heritage when he went off, and I played him in cash games and stuff like that, and probably a mistake. And I was on the right side of variance there, and played him this week, and maybe I was on the wrong side of variance with him, but definitely going to wait to get more data on him before I take him more often in these higher stakes tournaments or cash games. So he's the guy in my lineup that I think, if you look at my team for this particular tournament, you could say potentially that's a mistake, and I could get behind it. I know certainly Colin would. I'm still bullish, like I said, on Bryson long term, but that's the one pick that I'm not thrilled with. The rest of the team I'm very happy with in general. So we look at Tony Finau. Bomber, loved him here. He's coming into form. I like the upside of this guy, and the course really fit him well. I thought it was a good course fit, so liked him. JB Holmes, another great, easy option. You can see 33% here. Finau a little lower owned in this tournament just because he does have more variance than most golfers, but I still think he's great. JB was basically a lock for me. I like the roster construction of going JB and Hideki Matsuyama in this tournament. I thought those two were the best plays. So I went that direction. Certainly Rory and Glover was another direction I used a lot with a lot of these guys, but in this particular spot, I thought JB Holmes and Matsuyama were going to be the best tournament-type plays for this because I thought Rory was going to be very heavily owned in this tournament. And I did like his equity, but I think I still prefer JB and Matsuyama, although I am reconsidering just a little bit because Rory is so freaking good at DraftKings golf. He is just the perfect golfer for the scoring system that DraftKings has. And even when he's the most expensive golfer, he just has so much upside, so many birdies and eagles he's capable of making. So moving back, Charles Howell III, I'm very bullish on him in general. I thought this was a great track for him. I was on him again last week. Anytime there's a longer course and putting's not critical, I'm pretty bullish on him in general. Only 20% owned here, which is a little surprising to me, honestly, but hey, it is what it is, and I would probably take him again in the same spot. I he missed the cut. I'm trying not to be results oriented with all these plays, and I liked him a lot. So 20% owned, definitely interesting. Matsuyama, another guy that was pretty much a lock for me all week. 60% owned here, so I think he was a lock for almost all the top players in terms of cash. I saw him in a lot of cash game lineups with players I respect, and he's just way too good of a golfer for whatever. He was 9,300 here at Wells Fargo. So I love Matsuyama. Again, a guy who doesn't putt as well as some of these other players that are elite golfers, but his ball striking is elite, and he definitely has the distance for a course like we saw here in Charlotte. And finally, Justin Thomas was my final golfer. He is a guy. Let's take a look at Justin Thomas. This is a guy that I feel like should be performing a lot better based on his stats and kind of the hype on him. Remember, Justin Thomas in college was going against Jordan Spieth all the time, and they were very close. They were still very good friends to this day, and I'm sure in college you could have speculated who's going to be better, Thomas or Spieth, and I think a lot of people said Spieth, but certainly some people said Thomas, and now Spieth has obviously built his career, much faster than Thomas, and certainly looks like he's going to be a much better golfer long term, but who knows? Justin Thomas, though, if you just look here, he hadn't missed a lot of cuts. He was kind of in pretty good form coming up to Wells Fargo, which is one of the things I looked at. He's been pretty solid, definitely has the distance, and he's fine. But then you kind of look back, he had those 2 missed cuts back to back, and if you go farther into his game log, he will miss some cuts. I mean, he's 11 of 14 so far in the season. It's not bad, but I really feel like he should be playing a little bit better than he is with his talent. And, you can say that about a lot of guys on the PGA Tour, but really Justin Thomas, he was the most disappointing guy. By no means was he a bad pick. I mean, you can see here 40% on the Thunderdome. These are some of the best PGA DFSers out there, and he was a sharp pick for sure with his distance and course fit, but disappointing all around, and just even the way he missed the cut is just absolutely terrible. I mean, you look at him versus like Howell. Howell had 10 birdies and missed the cut and had 29.5 DraftKings points, which still a missed cut, but it's much better than the 17 that Justin Thomas gives you with only 2 birdies. So really disappointing round from him, and I don't know. I'm going to continue to watch him. I like Justin Thomas. He's one of those young guys that's coming up, but we'll see where he ends up. I mean, Brooks Koepka, I prefer to him at this stage in their careers. Obviously, Jordan, Matsuyama, I definitely prefer to Justin Thomas. He's just not making that leap. And even when we see Smiley get back on the course, if he can get his wrist figured out, I like Smiley Kaufman more than Justin Thomas right now, too. And maybe I'm just bitter because he missed this cut, but he's definitely a golfer that I need to figure out a little bit more, and certainly going to be paying close attention to him, especially coming up to some of these bigger tournaments. So that's my terrible team. Lost this $5,300 tournament and lost some other games, so hopefully you played this team in cash and didn't get my Rory Glover team in my heads-up matches. But let's look at the winner here and the top 2 guys. So Castro, 20% owned, but I think both the top 2 guys had him. That's someone that Colin has touted a lot on our podcast, and shame on me for not having any exposure to him on tournaments. That's someone that Colin consistently thinks is better than the way he plays, and he's a guy that really won the tournament for the fresh and the top guys. I mean, everyone who had him did pretty well. Berger, another guy that I played a lot. There's another young guy that maybe, over Justin Thomas. I mean, Berger versus Justin Thomas, that's interesting. Both guys can hit it a really long way. Adam Hadwin, I did not consider him at all, and maybe I should be looking at him more, but he was not a guy on my radar. He's 5,800, certainly a cheap play. That was a viable option, I guess, but not someone I was considering. Matsuyama, loved that play. Rory, loved that play. Woodland, I had some intel that Woodland might be going through a swing change, and he was playing pretty poor before, and now he's come back and played pretty well. So I'll have to look at him more and look at his specific stats, but Woodland's an interesting guy going forward. But like the construction of this team, got Rory and Hideki in this team, balanced out with Castro, Woodland, Hadwin, and Berger. Definitely a great team, and congrats to the Fresh on taking this down. And then good friend Brandon Adams with a really nice team here as well. He also had Justin Thomas. He was bullish on Patrick Weed this week. Phil Mickelson, I thought that was a great contrarian play, just given how much course history he's had here. And I'm starting to wait. This elite course history, I think Colin and I will talk about Phil on the podcast, or I'm going to bring him up. This elite course history stuff is starting to make me really bullish on guys. I mean, you already are, but those guys who have elite course history, I'm almost always going to plug them in, and there's some strong reason not to. Matsuyama, good play. Danny Lee, a very interesting play. Certainly worked out. And Roberto Castro. So a nice high upside team here from Brandon Adams, one of the top DFS guys out there. And yeah, he's definitely doing well here with golf. So nice team here from Brandon Adams. Nice team from the Fresh. Awful performance by me. Hope this video helped, just trying to be honest through the thought process and everything. I'll continue to do this every week, hoping to bounce back strong here for the upcoming week. And yeah, if you like Hearthstone or have any feedback on this, definitely want to incorporate some other things. I did get feedback about doing some sort of baseball video, which I certainly will incorporate. It won't be weekly like this golf tournament is, but I definitely will start doing some stuff with baseball here coming up soon. So please give me feedback on Twitter or send us feedback here at Fantasy Labs. Hope to see more Fantasy Lab subscribers at the top of the leaderboard.